angels willing to hold us in their arms. When our worth was stone, our ashes, and we both passed on. Let forever mean forever and carry on.
Good afternoon. Wow. Okay, let me turn the volume down a little bit. Up in here. Sorry, I was running back to this side of the desk. It's been, here towards the end of the day, it's not the end of the day, but you know what I mean. It's kind of, when the news starts, it's like the end of our day, right? Because it's very limited what I can do after I start the broadcast. So, you know, usually about 3 o'clock's pretty much about the end of our day because I have to start focusing on stuff for the show. And, let's see. Landlord showed up right at about 3 o'clock. So I had to fill some ink cartridges for him and stuff. So I've been rushing around a little bit. Just got everything kind of tweeted out and coffee just made. So usually I'm about, normally I got my first cup of coffee down, and during the intro I'm going and grabbing my second cup of coffee. So I've had one sip out of my coffee. So, but don't worry, I won't murder anybody or nothing. I'm okay. Let me have a sip though. I do need that. Oh my goodness. So updates. Don't have a lot. We did get the camera today. I messed with it a little bit. That's why I was kind of winded and running around the desk. I was actually putting the lens cover on it because I want to do my best to keep it in good shape. So it's charging now. I messed with it a little bit, took a quick little video of Blue, but I haven't had a chance to really look at it too much. So it is what it is. I'm sure during the show, while videos are playing and whatnot, I'll mess with it some more. So we'll see. We'll see how good it does. We'll see how good a video it takes. And maybe even during the show here, I'll bring up the video that I played of Blue, and or that I took of Blue, and we'll play it, and we'll see. We'll see how good it does. So anyway, aside from that, I don't know of any updates per se. As far as the Watchman news is concerned, everything's still about the same. Probably listened to that song now in the last 3 days easily 50 times. I absolutely love that song. Cannot wait to get started on the video for it. So the new intro video we're going to be working on. So I've pretty much got every bit of the timeline worked out in my head as to what I want to do, how I want to do it. I think it's going to be cool. I think you guys are going to like it. I think we're going to like it. I think it's going to work out well. So anyway, let's see. Trying to think of anything else whatsoever, and I can't. I do have a subject to talk to you a little bit about today. Something that I was thinking about earlier, and then I've been seeing something pop up in the news here of recent, and I hadn't had a chance to dive into it. I still haven't had a real big chance to dive into it. I wished I had, but that's okay. I probably tonight, tomorrow, I'll probably dig into it a little bit more. I do remember the incident, but it prompts me to have a discussion with everybody. Another complimentary sip. So we've been hearing a lot, for the last 10, 11 years about supremacy, right? And we normally hear the particular word white in front of it, right? And you know what? There's a much, much worse epidemic in this country than white supremacy. And in reality, white supremacy is actually a pretty small margin of people. I think the majority of the people in this country just simply don't care. They don't care what color you are. I know we're in that category. We could care less. But there's a much bigger epidemic here at hand, and I would like to call it government supremacy, okay? Government supremacy, and it's not just government, it's also the government employees, especially police supremacy. I have noticed that they seem to be on a totally different level than we the people, okay? There was a young man that was killed a little while back, and I remembered we had talked about it, we had covered it, and this was in California, Sacramento, California. And what brings this up is because there have been protests, and it's from my understanding getting pretty ugly at times there in Sacramento right now, as a result of the court hearing of the officers that was involved. Now, the young man was, I believe, suspected of doing car break-ins, and so police had seen him, started to chase him. They claim, to my knowledge, that he had a crowbar, okay? Then when they murdered him, they claimed that they thought he had a gun, and in reality he had a cell phone, okay? I believe his name was Stephen Clark. I've got an article brought up here. Let me get it up front here. Yes, it's probably Stefan Clark is probably how it's pronounced. So last night there was a protest. There were over 80 people arrested at that protest, okay? I am seeing, we watched a video the other day, yesterday I think it was, from the Patriot Nurse. Absolutely bang-up video. She was talking about Civil War. She was talking about going places like gas stations and stuff, and even hearing people in conversation about it. This is, this is no different, okay, this epidemic, and it is an epidemic. Just the other day in Prepper Nurse One's live chat, right before his show started, I had to go in there and be a moderator. And I don't like, quote-unquote, being a moderator, okay? I don't mind the job, but I don't like to have to use the job. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather not, and I try to let a lot of things fly. And, in fact, chances are pretty high what the guy was saying, the rhetoric that he was involved in, he would have probably been okay on our channel, to be totally honest with you. I probably wouldn't have said a word. I'd have kept an eye on it, but, that would have been at most. But Prepper Nurse One, that's not the place for the rhetoric that was coming out of his fingers, shall we. So anyway, I had to tell him, hey, knock off that kind of talk. And it ended. It quit. But the thing of it is this is becoming a common thing, okay? This type of conversation with individuals, okay? People that 10 years ago would have never have thought to set a crossword about law enforcement, for instance, are now speaking up, and they're speaking up boldly, okay? And largely the reason why is because this sense of government supremacy or police supremacy, okay? They automatically have the attitude that regardless of the Constitution, regardless of the law, you are supposed to do what they say. That is not correct. And I've played video after video on the show, and I've watched way more videos than I've ever played on the show of instances of people that, when they get stopped for something stupid. And they're not under arrest, they're not being detained, they're not under investigation or anything else, and they simply know their rights, and they're trying to assert them, and next thing you know, they end up being assaulted, brutalized, most of the time arrested. I love it when you see somebody that gets arrested for resisting arrest, but there is no original charge. How does that even work? Okay, so you have to understand why people are starting to get upset at this, why people are just upset. They're had it, and I get it. I completely get it. But the other part of this is there is no accountability. And the whole reason why they are protesting here is because the officers, okay, were not charged with what happened. Absolutely not charged with what happened. 20 rounds. They fired 20 rounds at this young man, okay? And it was sickening, absolutely sickening. After they fired the 20 rounds, they waited what seemed like forever before they did anything else. And then, as his body lay there lifeless, as they always do, after he had already probably bled out and flatlined, they handcuffed him with his hands behind his back. What is wrong with this country? You can't tell me that that's humane. You can't tell me that that's normal. You can't tell me that that is acceptable. It is not. First off, the man didn't even have a weapon. Okay? Oh, well, it was dark out. They couldn't have known that. Well, then you know what? Man up and take a risk. Man up and take a risk. You know, all I can see in my head is, what's his name, Joe Gamaldi, I think, from down in Houston, Texas, that little sawed-off peckerhead piece of crap, talking about how he's tired of the targets on their back. Well, what about us? What about us? What about the couple in Houston, Texas, in which he was even referring to? What about that couple that wasn't doing anything wrong? They weren't criminals. They weren't engaged in an activity that caused the SWAT team to be there, and they are dead. What about them? What about the targets you put on their back? Enough is enough. And if there's not going to be any accountability for it in the courts, you better damn well bet at some point accountability is going to be had in the streets. And don't you cry. Not one bit. Don't you cry. Don't you fly your little damn blue flag and act like you're all... No, you take it. You take it because you deserve it, because you asked for it, because you demanded it. Violence begets violence. It's just the way it is. And it's getting old. We can't have any accountability. But yet if we jaywalk, that can be a death sentence. But we can't have any accountability. Now, if that isn't a supremacist attitude, then you tell me what is. Prepper Nurse One the other day talked about Canada. He talked about how they put a law up in Canada that now if somebody breaks into your home, you are not allowed to defend yourself. What kind of crap is that? Well, it's the same here. It's the same here with law enforcement. If you do anything to defend yourself and defend your rights, they will kill you. Plain and simple. You know, for years now, and this show can vouch for this, I've offered to be a bridge between the good people of this country and law enforcement. Let's sit down on the table and let's fix this problem. But there's no interest. None. They don't care. Because they think that they're above everybody. They think that they will never be held accountable. I wonder how many SS Nazi members thought the same thing. I wonder. We got to do something about this. I've said this on the show I don't know how many times. It's getting old saying it. We are the ones that have to fix this, and not at a stupid ballot box. That's not going to do anything. If you haven't figured that one out, then we need to count you out of the team anyway. Because anybody that hasn't figured out that voting is not going to actually change anything in this country, they'll never be willing to actually stand up for this country. Just the way it is. Because I think with half of them, it's just an excuse. Well, get out there and vote. Just an excuse. You know? And I think the other half just don't know. But whether or not it's somebody that uses it as an excuse or just doesn't know, they're not going to be on the lines. And I'd like to do this without there having to be any lines. And it can be done. But we have to pull our heads out of the TV sets. We have to pull our heads out of the ball games. We have to set our priorities straight. Because I don't know, I would think that most people would agree with me that our children, their lives, and their future is more important than a damn ball game. But much of society sure isn't acting that way. And I think a lot of people are just kind of trying to hide from it because it's a very unpleasant thing. I get that. I don't like it. I don't like it for a second. I don't like to have to be here and say these things and try to wake people up. I don't like that. But do you know what? There's a whole hell of a lot of things in life I've had to do that I didn't like. It's called life. Just the way it is. This is one more of those things in life that you just got to do. And if at this point all I can do is be a voice of reason, a voice of understanding, then I'm going to do it. Because at least I'm doing something more than just going and putting a damn vote in. I'm at least doing something. Don't bother calling you representatives. You think they represent you. You think they give two shits what you care or what you think. No, they don't. They don't care. Not in the least bit. They got your vote. They're done. They're done. We got to stop. We got to stop with this mindset of entitlement. You say that word and most people think of somebody on welfare. No, that's not the entitlement. The entitlement are the ones that think because they go cast a ballot that they have earned freedom. But that's all they've got to do. And a phone call is not going to hold your representative accountable. It's not. A large mass of people outside of their office demanding them pack up their shit and get out. Now that is accountability. But we got to stop playing the ball game that is politics first. It's absolutely unbelievable. It is. It's unbelievable. But it's tiring to see this happening time and time and time again. It's unreal. Unreal. All people want is some accountability. And it would be so easy. Instead of making, because, the criminal lawsuit, no charges will be brought against them. But you can bet there will be a civil lawsuit, and there's a good chance that civil lawsuit will be won. And then, guess who gets to pay that lawsuit? You. You pay that lawsuit. There are no consequences for these people. Now, doesn't this sound like supremacy to you? Maybe if that money was coming out of the payroll of the officers' pockets, maybe something would get done. But there is zero accountability. None. And in many, many, many cases, officers involved, they wind up getting promoted and getting raises. Hell, these people don't even lose a paycheck because they get put on paid administrative leave. What kind of jobs? Can anybody tell me any other job that you can get a paid vacation for killing somebody? That's one of the perks of the job. You shoot somebody, they die, you get a paid vacation. I mean, the military don't even offer that kind of a benefits package, right? And every traffic stop these days, they treat we the people like we're enemy combatants. We're not enemy combatants. And they will do everything to escalate the situation. You know, there's a lot of facts that are totally ignored in these situations. Like, for instance, chances are extremely high during a encounter with a citizen, if you're an officer, that if that citizen has any intent on doing any harm or trying to do any harm, it's going to be in the initial contact. They're not going to wait. It's going to be in the initial contact. So why the hell are we shooting people like Philando Castile? The officer made contact. The officer had talked to him for a bit of time. What was the all of a sudden fear that, oh, I'm going to get attacked now? It's an excuse. It's an excuse. And it's got to stop. Always the excuse. I'm telling you what, I've never seen so much cowardice in my life. And it's got to stop by we the people. And if they were truly afraid, folks, they wouldn't be doing this stuff. If they were truly, truly afraid. Because there would be backlash. I mean, actual, real backlash. Not just walking through the streets, chanting things and holding pictures. There would be actual backlash. And don't tell me about the 1 in a million officers that get shot at a stop sign or whatever. That doesn't even compare to the thousands of civilians every year, roughly, that get gunned down. Many of those individuals unarmed. Now, I'm not saying that some people don't deserve what they get. You know? But there's a whole hell of a lot of them that don't. And to me, that is government supremacy. Police supremacy. Hell, they even got their own flag. Absolutely unbelievable. It's right there in front of our faces. I'm sorry I get heated about this topic, but this is enough. This is enough. I'm tired of reporting on unarmed people being gunned down because a coward feared for his safety. Well, then maybe you need to get a job as like a preschool teacher or something. As long as, you know, as long as 4 and 5-year-olds don't scare you too bad. Anyway, let's get on with some news. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, let me have a sip of coffee because that's part of my contract, right? Okay. We're going to start with this. Private security cards branded with police raise questions for some. Yeah, there's actually a private corporation in St. Louis that's running around with police on the side of their car. Police, right? Now, they're going to give the excuse that a large amount of the employees of this company are police officers, right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's impersonating an officer. But it looks like they're going to get away with it. It looks like they're going to be allowed to do it. It's absolutely unbelievable. Again, government supremacy. Without a doubt. They can do it as they wish. It doesn't matter. Here's an amazing story out of Virginia. Devastating West Virginia church caught fire. Doesn't burn a single Bible. Right? None of the crosses were burned in the church either. That is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Trump to terminate India trade benefits demands equitable and reasonable access to its markets. No knee-jerk reaction. India says impact of U.S. withdrawal of trade benefits will be limited. Pentagon threatens Turkey with grave consequences for buying Russian S-400. So, and I'll tell you, that's a crazy, crazy thing. I'm interested to see what happens there. Turkey's one of them. I never can understand where we are at in a relationship with Turkey, because one moment it seems like it's good, and the next moment it seems like it's bad, and it's just it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I think that's going to be a key country when things go really south over there in the Middle East. I think that is going to be a key country as to, which side they fall on at that moment. So let's see. She is now in the smallest club of Democrats. Clinton rules out running in 2020. So, yeah, apparently she's not going to run, which, great. That's awesome. But I'm not holding my breath. Not for a second. Pakistan's Navy claims it prevented Indian submarine from entering its waters. France faces third night of riots after 2 teens die in police chase. See, this whole police supremacy thing isn't just a United States thing. This is a global thing. It's a global thing. And I've said it a million times. I think a large part of it is because of the Israeli military training that the police are getting. I think that is a large part of the problem. Female astronaut McLean gains 2 inches in height on board ISS in 3 months. Yeah, she grew like 2 inches taller while being on the space station, right? Which gives me an idea as a male. No, I'm just kidding. What? 2 inches. 2 inches. I would have a whole 3 inches then. I mean... Food of the future. Sweden to test 3D printed meals on the elderly. I'm waiting for a knife blade to come flying at me. Russia aims to reach OPEC plus production cut quota by end of March. I even got huffed at by the dog. Let's see. Aggressive promotion of homosexuality. School stops LGBT lessons after backlash from angry parents. Right? Let's see if that happens in New Jersey, right? I have a feeling it won't, because I doubt the parents are going to get that angry enough to stop it. See, it's crazy, because we're actually seeing people get up and do things about the problems in other countries before the United States even starts really talking about it, And then that's all that happens in the United States. People raise hell on Facebook and other social media platforms, but they actually don't do anything. Well, in the other countries, like France with the yellow vest, and here with the angry parents over this issue in England, people are starting to stand up. They're tired of it. They're absolutely tired of it. Big fat fishing expedition. Trump brands Dems extended probe greatest overreach in history. And at this point, folks, come on, right? Whether you like the guy, whether you hate the guy, whether you lose your mind just because you see a hat that says "Make America Great Again," at some point, we have to be realistic. Okay? This is taxpayers' money here. And this is time that can be used in going after, let's say, pedophiles. Now, could you imagine if this kind of time and money was put into the Catholic pedophile ring? Can you imagine how much of a mess we could have cleaned up by now? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious by now that, I'm not saying Trump is perfect, and I'm not saying he's innocent of everything back to the dawn of time, right? But I think they probably uncovered enough stuff by now, or they would have uncovered enough stuff by now if it existed. It simply doesn't exist. So let's do something real with the taxpayer money and with the time of all of these government employees. Monroe Doctrine twist: U.S. vowed to shield nations against colonizers. Now it's invading them. Kind of hard to argue that. Really is kind of hard to argue that. Remove nuclear weapons from Europe for everyone's peace of mind, says the Russian Prime Minister to the United States. Kind of don't see that happening. France's only aircraft carrier sets sail for Mediterranean to fight ISIS. Yeah. Take that, ISIS. You're going to get the French and their single aircraft carrier. AOC's top aide accused of stashing $900,000 in campaign contributions. See, that's a lot of money she could have used for rent, right? Just saying, right? Oh, my goodness. Government supremacy. Is this not the attitude of government supremacy? It's a serious problem. Much, much bigger problem than white supremacy in the 21st century. Absolutely unbelievable. That's what I got for the monologue for you. If you're here for the live show, stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be live till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you just watched the monologue or the recording thereof, thank you very much. I would remind everybody, please, if you shop on Amazon, please go to the watchmannews.com and use our Amazon link, or you can find it in the video description of our video. It does help us out, and it's much appreciated. So, as always, God bless you, we love you, and be one with your spirit.